Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. We are back looking at third declension adjectives. Now, I know in our last couple activities, our declension and verb endings have not exactly remained fresh in our minds. So I would highly recommend that before you do the noun adjective agreement activity, review this video and please go back and review your declension ending. You are not going to succeed very well if you don't review your declension endings. So, in this chapter we are looking at, you have third declension adjectives. Now, there are three types of third declension adjectives. Don't get too hung up on these endings if you don't exactly know the complete difference between all of them. It's going to be okay. This is why we have a glossary, dictionary, etc., so you can look it up. Now, the three types of third declension adjectives that we're looking at, the reason we divide them up into different pieces is because they might have different endings in the nominative singular for the different genders. So, for A on our list, you have the adjective acer. Acer is masculine nominative singular. For the feminine nominative singular, you're going to have acris, and for the neuter nominative singular, you're going to have acre. Okay, there are several different adjectives like this in the third declension. The reason why we haven't really needed to cover this before is when we did first and second declension adjectives, they end in us, a, or okay, just like lightus down here. Lightus, us being the masculine, lighta being feminine, being neuter. It can often be much more difficult to differentiate if an adjective is masculine, feminine, or neuter, if it's a third declension adjective, because third declension doesn't work quite the same way. Now, the second type, you have fortis, forte. Fortis is used for both masculine and feminine nominative singular. Forte is your neuter nominative singular. Now, for all of these, every other ending, genitive singular all the way down to ablative plural, is going to work the exact same way as all of the other third declension endings. Paying attention, if the adjective or if the noun is neuter, you do need to be using your neuter endings. Finally, the last type of third declension adjective is the easiest because for your vocab word felix, felicis, you have just felix, and that is for masculine, feminine, and neuter. It is the same for all of them. In this case, the felicis means the genitive singular ending. Now, as a reminder, adjectives always match their noun in gender, case, and number. They do not need to always match in declension. So what that means for us is that you can have a second declension noun with a third declension adjective. Your endings are going to be different. They're not going to be the same. The only time your endings are going to match is if you have a first or second declension adjective with a first or second declension noun, or a third declension adjective with a third declension noun. Otherwise, your endings are going to be different. This is why you need to know your endings. Because when you look at a third declension noun, you need to know, is it singular or plural? Is it nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, or ablative? All of those things matter. So, looking at our examples down here, there are 6 total we're going to go through. One is going to use felix, felicis, meaning lucky or happy, and then we're also going to use lightus, also meaning happy, trying to keep it nice and light and happy around here. So what this means, I've given you the gender for each of those nouns to make it a little bit easier for you. And then we are going to go through and have to figure out what the ending is. So for number 1, you have that it's masculine. Its ending is um. Because it's you should know that that is second declension accusative singular. So that means for Felix, you need to use the masculine accusative singular ending, which would be felicem. Okay, for number 2, nocta. It's feminine, it's third declension, ablative singular. That means for Felix, we need to use the ablative singular ending. And because they are the same declension, their endings match. But for number 1, because they're different declensions, they don't have the same exact same ending, but they are both masculine, accusative singular. For number 2, they're both feminine, ablative singular, but it just so happens to match because they're the same declension. For number 3, we are into the neuters. Concilia is the neuter plural. It can either be nominative plural or accusative plural. It doesn't really matter in this case. But because it's neuter, Felix also has to be neuter, which means our ending is felica. Okay, for flamis, again, feminine, because it ends in is, it could be ablative or dative plural. For Felix, that means we are going to our third declension, ablative or dative plural ending, ibus, so flamis felicibus. Corporis, again, it's neuter. With this ending, oris, that is going to be genitive singular. So genitive singular, we have felicis, and then fratres. This is masculine, and it could either be nominative or accusative plural with the ending es because it is third declension. Because it's third declension, the endings are going to match. So we have felices. All right, now we're going to do this again, but we are going to use a different adjective. We are going to use lightus. So that means for coquum, again, still accusative singular. It is masculine, so we need to use the masculine ending. So that is going to be lightum. For nocta, we need to go to our feminine ending. It's not going to be lighta with an E. It is going to be lighta with a long A. Feminine uses first declension endings, okay? So that means you need to use the first declension endings, and it is still ablative singular. For concilia, we are using our neuter, nominative, or accusative plural endings, so that means we need to go to the our neuter endings, and you're going to have laeta, flamis, feminine. So first declension endings, it could be dative or ablative plural, so you're going to have laitis. Corporis is neuter, but it's genitive singular. And because it's neuter, that means we need to use the second declension neuter endings. So you are going to have li-t. Finally, fratres, it's masculine, so that means second declension endings. If it's fratres, it could either be nominative or accusative. So you could have li-t if it's nominative, or it could be lightos if it's accusative. Okay, so again, ladies and gentlemen, Felix, felicis, all of these are third declension endings. For lightus, these are all either first or second declension endings. You cannot switch. You cannot give first and second declension endings to Felix. You can't give third declension endings to lightus. They have to stay with themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this helps. Again, please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. There's lots of videos on YouTube that go over adjectives. I hope you're doing well. I miss you, and have a great week.